this is a topic that is for most of you, because most of you are heading into menopause, in menopause, or post-menopause, okay? So what does belly fat have to do with menopause is because it has to do with hormones again. So as you hit into menopausal stage, estrogen starts to drop, right? And so when estrogen starts to drop, estrogen is the hormone that dictates where your fat distributes. So in a young woman, it tells us to distribute a little bit more to like all of like our, our nice attributes, like our breasts, our hips, the glutes, but like kind of the childbearing areas. But as you get older into menopause, it changes to distributing into the middle because of your estrogen drop, and that estrogen drop produces a higher androgen hormone. And I've spoken about this before, a higher androgen hormone. If you think about a guy and why they tend to, as they age, get the pot belly, you guys all see that pot belly, is because like guys with a higher testosterone, they deposit mainly centrally to their belly. So unfortunately, as you age, you kind of resemble a guy a little bit more in that you start to deposit more centrally. And that is because of your estrogen and estrone and all of these estradiol and all these like related estrogen hormones that forces distribution of fat to your center. Okay. So now one of the things I do say often is that yes, this is quite common with menopausal women, but like it's not just because of menopause, but if you already don't eat well, then the fat accumulation just looks different, right? But if you already eat well, then with a different hormonal profiling, you still won't gain that much in the middle. So it does come back to a lot of nutrition, right? Because you have to remember, first you have to be in the state where you are depositing fat, right? And then it's like, but it's now just changed location to where it's depositing, which is the centrally in your belly, okay? So food and nutrition comes into play for this as well, right? As men age, the testosterone drops and they become more estrogen dominant. Yeah, exactly. And so if you actually watch some guys, like if their estrogen becomes more dominant, they actually do distribute fat, like they have the big belly, but they do distribute fat all over more, like they become rounder more as men age, so like in fat other areas too. So another thing with the estrogen is when you have like, typically when you're younger, you have higher levels of estrogen. That estrogen has an effect on how fat is reuptaked into your body. So this is quite complex. Like there's like different estrogen types and signals in the body, but the base premise is the estrogen signal can help a body learn to utilize fat faster, okay? And that like metabolic pathway. So that's why when you're younger, you can eat more things and like you don't seem to put on that much fat, or like it seems that the fat like the metabolism for the fat is faster when you have a higher level of estrogen. But as that drops in menopause, then it becomes more stubborn fat because it's not able to utilize that type of fat for your body. So that's another scientific background around it, which is why as you age, you just can't afford to go off track as much. And when you're younger, you can eat something fatty and it can process it faster for you because of that estrogen level, right? So so basically estrogen is a big reason why as you age, and a lot of you in the menopausal stage just find that you have a really difficult time to lose belly fat because like of how now you have no more signal from the estrogen or much lower, and that is partially why. Okay, so how many of you on here have found that after menopause or during menopause, you just find you've gained weight or it's harder to lose the belly? Put menopause below if you feel like you've been really affected by menopause. There's a lot of factors involved and a lot of hormones involved with this belly fat situation, right? So let's talk a little bit about how to reduce belly fat, because I talked about that it is much harder to lose belly fat, but I also said at the beginning that there is a way to reduce belly fat and not become a grandma body, right? So the first thing, I'm going to talk about multiple things, but I see a lot of menopause coming in. Exactly, right? So this, you guys all are kind of affected on this. So the thing is, one of the first premise I want you guys all to keep in mind is when it comes to reducing belly fat, it is not a one-directional approach. Repeat after me, please. This is the teacher in me. It is not a one-directional approach. This is where I see most women fail because they think it's about one thing. Just go exercise more. Oh, I'll just do more cardio. I'll just reduce carb. I just won't eat carbs or fat. It is not a one-directional approach. If you really want to reduce belly fat, you need to have someone who understands and approaches your belly fat from a multi-directional perspective, from a holistic perspective at looking at many, many factors involved in it to help you lose it, right? So the first thing is, first of all, belly fat, like I said, is stubborn fat. So it is much harder for your body to use it, right? So I want to talk specifically about, first of all, resistance training, exercising, all this type of stuff. Okay, so I want to explain it in this way. So when you are exercising, there are different sources your body will tap for energy. And there's something that's called hidden fat that is actually within your muscles. So if you guys ever eaten a piece of steak, you'll know that there could be fat within the meat or within the muscle, right? It's not always on top of the muscle. Sometimes it could be marbleized and you can see fat in the muscle. And hidden fat can sometimes be in your lean muscle, which is actually not bad. And, you know, obviously there's brown fat and different types of fat that are very metabolically active in a good way. They are used while you're like working out, training, and helping your body in moving and getting the work done. So hidden fat actually is not necessarily bad, but what it does mean is that your body will tap the fat within the muscle first, which is good. And then the next level it taps is carbs, right? It taps carbs in your system. And then the next level is it taps protein in your system. And the very last energy source it doesn't want to go to, it's very resistant. It's like last resort, is stubborn fat. So stubborn fat is that belly fat and a lot of the areas around the hip that I talk about, which is the last to go. So why do I explain this is because the type of exercises you do does matter. Because if you do a very high intensity all the time, lots of steady state cardio, tons and tons of cardio and all of that, you're just tapping a lot of maybe your hidden fat in the muscles and the carbs, or maybe even your muscles and protein. And you're not able to tap your stubborn fat stores. So why I bring this up is because you have to exercise in a certain way, which is why I kind of talk a lot about developing programs that does really work the muscle and doesn't just go straight through this like overdoing cardio and like overusing all of the other sources of energy first. So when you are training in certain ways and like more specific types of workout and muscle building workouts and certain types of HIIT training, you are able to tap that store a little bit faster. So that's why when I design programs, even though Rosalinda, and you don't like those crab kicks, there's a reason why I want you to do crab kicks or certain things that I want, because I know that we have to tap different stores in your body. And this is where a lot of women kind of don't understand. They just think exercise is exercise, but it isn't. And it gets even harder as you get older and you need certain combinations of exercises, and you want exercises that increases your total metabolism. right? So what do I mean by that is you don't want exercises that just burns within the moment, which is most cardio-based exercises. They burn just within the moment, but you don't have ability to keep burning afterwards. Whereas when you really learn to do proper resistance training and a right mixture of your hits and your main resistance training, you can actually tap the store that is constantly burning throughout the day, right? Like the excess post-oxygen consumption and a lot of this theory in muscle building. So it's not just any workout, but you do need to have certain types of workout that you need to be able to get deeper down into your stubborn fat. And that helps you speed up your metabolism. Okay, so let me ask you. So I see Rachel just joined in, and Tavana, yeah, we can tag you later on that. Is how many of you feel like you need more metabolic increasing workouts? And if you, typically my clients, if I'm designing it, I already have thought about all the different stores and the anaerobic and aerobic and the different thresholds and all the stuff that happens within your body. Usually that's how I will design it. Some of you don't like that my workouts are hard, but there's a reason for it. But if you're listening to this and you're like just doing just some like machines at the gym or just the cardio machine, then you might need more metabolic increasing workouts. So if you feel like you need more like metabolic resistance, like metabolic increasing workouts, put metabolic workouts below. Because that may mean that you're not tapping the right stores. And what I would say is if you feel like you're working out lots, but you're not getting the results that you want, then you may need more of that. So like a lot of women, they come to me and they say they do so much in a day and they do all these group classes and they're not seeing the results they want. It may be that you're just not tapping the right stores around it, right? And you have to, it's tricky. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's a little bit tricky because you can't do like too much to spike your cortisol, but you need it to tap a certain level of stores, right? So yeah, metabolic workouts if you feel like you need more of that. So another thing is because women genetically a lot of times are programmed in this way because of our kind of genetic coding for carrying children, is you are going to lose more from your upper body fat first before you lose it into your belly and your hip area. So if you do the wrong types of workout and you do too much cardio or you stress the body too much, you may find that your body loses in the upper body and maybe your legs, but you're not able to reduce the midsection. So this happens to a lot of women when they don't exercise in the right way. They can get very skinny at the top and very skinny in the legs, but they still have the midsection. Okay. Yeah, you lose the boobs quickly. Exactly, Katie. But this is, yes, there is some genetic factors in this. This is true. But if you find yourself like doing a lot of exercise and you still are just skinny here, but then have so much in the middle, like a pear or like a tomato on toothpicks. And that came from Cindy Hutchinson. I know she's not on here, but that was her. She turned 60 and was like in her best shape of her life when she did her program. Her goal was to be in her best shape of her life by 60, which she accomplished through the program. But when she came to me, she was like, I'm a tomato on a toothpick. And I was laughing in the first call. I was like, oh, I've never heard that expression before. She's like, yeah, like whenever I lose weight, I lose in the upper and I lose in my lower, but I just cannot lose in the middle. And that tomato on a toothpick syndrome means you're doing something wrong. Yes, I'm going to agree it's a huge part of nutrition, but something in your workout is off as well because of how you're losing that fat off your body. So if you feel like you look at yourself and you're like, it's true, I keep losing everywhere but my midsection, that something is wrong in the way that you're training and working out along with nutrition, which I will talk about right away. Okay, so for those of you who do struggle with this, then I want you to either say you're a tomato or a pear. because typically if you lose it from your upper but not your lower, then you might be a pear. Or if you're the type that loses from your upper and your legs but not the middle, then you're like a tomato on toothpicks. So I don't know, that was Cindy Hutchinson's expression. So are you a tomato or a pear? Okay, so put below if you have struggled with that. Okay, so number 2, so about reducing belly fat, you need to learn how to bring down inflammation in your system through proper nutrition. And of course, a lot of my lives are centered on this, because without dropping inflammation in your system, your belly fat probably will not move a lot. Because like I said, your belly fat cells are constantly producing inflammation. So since belly fat cells are inflammatory by nature, every little bit of food that you eat has to be analyzed if it's inflammatory or not, and if it's causing massive inflammation in your gut system as well. So this is another thing, is if you want to lose your belly fat, you have to be particularly cognizant of what is causing inflammation in your system, what foods are you eating, what ingredients are there, everything including gum. Right, Marcia, I know you're probably not on here, but something as simple as gum was something we looked at the very beginning for Marcia. Man, and people are like, but gum is healthy. No, it's not. Neither is a lot of things you think is healthy is not healthy. And because it causes inflammation in your system. So a lot of stuff that you may think is healthy is not. And I would say if you're struggling with a belly, you need to learn about inflammation and how to bring that down. So again, if you've already written above that you struggle with inflammation, or if you haven't yet, and you're like, I need to learn more about inflammation markers, then put inflammation markers below. Okay. Yep, Simone, gum will inflame your system. Let me tell you, there's a lot more things that you guys do on a daily basis you don't even know is causing so much inflammation in the system. So yes, put inflammatory markers if you want to learn more about that. Okay. So that's number 2. Number 3, how to reduce belly fat, is you need to eat proper macros to further help with decreasing inflammation, to help mobilize your resistant fat cells, and to fine-tune your metabolic pathway. I speak a lot about macros because macros if you understand it well and you distribute it properly, has the ability to, 1, help you decrease inflammation, which I spoke about is so important. But because you know how to macro distribute, it also will help your more resistant fat cells, your stubborn fat cells, start to shrink and start to become smaller. So this is why I speak a lot about the macros, because your nutrition does really matter, and your belly fat is already really hard to manage. And the third thing is, if you have proper macros, you can actually more easily build muscle. And when you have more ability to build muscle, you increase your metabolic pathway because you increase your metabolism. So when I speak about macros, there's a lot of reasons why. And I totally understand. I coach a lot of you and different athletes and different things like that. And not everybody are fans of macros. It is hard work. But what I will say is macros is sort of one of those tools in your tool belt that you will never regret learning, because it will always help you know how to come back to the right homeostasis. Most of the time, a lot of people who don't know macros is just you don't know how to create the homeostasis in your body that helps bring down all that stuff, inflammation, and target the resistant fat cells to help you build muscle, to increase metabolic pathway. It's not just macros for macros. It is about the quality of food, but there's a lot more behind macros that people should be learning. Even if you don't do it like in such an intense rate for the rest of your life, having that tool will really help you know how to control it. Basically, you have better control of what is happening in your system, right? So In terms of macros, there's things that will help you with better metabolism and better mobilization of fat cells, which is understanding the different types of macros you do need and how to combine them in the right way, how to distribute them in the right way, and how to make sure the distribution actually helps with ghrelin and leptin signals properly. So the biggest thing is, like, a lot of people, like, when they're learning macros with me, I'm telling them certain things about their food. I'm telling them to bring down this, but I tell them they have to do macro combinations. Is that correct? All my clients, we talk about macro combinations a lot because those combinations have a lot of factors with how your signals in your body will be received. Ghrelin and leptin is affected. And what did I say above? Leptin is a cause of inflammation, or is caused by inflammation and causes potential belly fat. So knowing how to distribute your food is really important. So with all that being said, I'm not trying to confuse you, but I simplify this a lot by telling people when I teach nutrition and macros, I talk about three things, which is quality of food, quantity of food, and timing of food. That is what I teach in my programs because of a lot of interlinking factors with this type of situation with your belly. So you need proper quality of food, proper quantity of food and the right macros, and the proper timing and distribution of food, all to help you stabilize your metabolism and to be able to tap into those fat cells a little bit faster.